So I just finished playing chapter 4 of Deltarune and I have a lot of thoughts. I've been avoiding any video essays or TikToks that talk about any spoilers, so I'm sorry if this is kind of redundant, but I have a lot of thoughts. I'm really emotional and I really want to talk about the game. So I've mentioned this a couple times, but I'm an archaeologist, and one of the things that I've studied in school is something called agency. Within the theoretical frameworks that I've studied, agency is defined as the ability to act. This is probably already making alarm bells go off in many players' heads because acting is pervasive to the game mechanics of both Deltarune and Undertale. I also don't know much about music, but it's already been established that there is something called the freedom motif, which is a leitmotif that often appears within Deltarune that represents characters who are already free and are not beholden to society's expectations or fate or anything like that. So agency is pretty pervasive throughout the mechanics of the game and through the side characters. But I think the best example of agency is in the way that they manifest between our three heroes within the game. All three heroes express their agency differently. Susie is, of course, the best example of using your agency and embracing it to so you can use it to your fullest, right? We know that Susie wants to defy her fate. When she finds out about the end of the prophecy, we know that she refuses to die. She's refusing to die and she's refusing to let others die. And Rouse called her naive hope is essentially her expressing her agency and refusing to let it define her as a person and as a hero. Now, Rouse is somebody who believes that he has no agency. Rouse believes that because he is the darker in this story, he has absolutely no say, no agency. His opinions don't matter, his beliefs don't matter, because he has only a role that he needs to fulfill. And thus, by extension, he is letting go of his agency and just allowing the prophecy to dictate his life. It also adds a certain layer of interest that he believes that the only people who are agents in the situation are the Lightners. That's why I was really emotional at the end of the game when Rouse stops Kris to tell them that he really likes when Kris played the piano, because I think that was one of the only moments in which Rouse, of his own volition, chooses to express his own beliefs and his own feelings. And so that shows his own character growth. Speaking of character growth, I really want to talk about Kris, who is the whole reason why I wanted to make this video. I think that they have the most complicated relationship with their own agency. Throughout the chapters that have been released, we've pretty much established that Kris has relinquished their own agency. And so at the beginning of chapter 4, when Kris receives the phone call from the person who's helping create these dark fountains, we know that Kris needs the human soul. I think it's kind of implying that they might die if they don't have the human soul with them, or that it's, or at the very least, that it's necessary for the creation of the dark fountains. But that essentially establishes the fact that Kris relinquished their own agency so that the human soul can be put in their body. I don't think it's the full reason why, but I do believe that part of the reason as to why Kris has essentially abandoned their own agency to allow us to control their body is a little bit because of their own self-hatred, because of their humanness, right? We know from the different chapters that Kris is treated differently within the Dreamer household because they are the black sheep. They are not an actual goat. There's that interaction with Toriel where Toriel admits that Kris used to wear horns and would ask Toriel when their horns would grow in because of their treatment and their favoritism of Asriel over them. I really don't think it's a coincidence that their body, that representation of their black sheepness, their outsiderness to their family, is what we control because they don't like it. And that's why I've really, really enjoyed all the memes and jokes that people have been making about Kris hating us in the game, because that is a representation of their own growth and self-acceptance. Little by little throughout the game, through their relationship that they have created with Susie and Rouse, strengthening of the relationship that they had with Noelle, the little things that have happened throughout the game, whether it's the weird route or the normal route, Kris has shown that they are resenting the fact that they have given up their agency. They don't like not being in control of their body. It is through these relationships that they've been able to create that they're like, hey, maybe I should be in control of my body and the decisions that I make. And I think that's really awesome to see. So I'm really hoping that by the end of the game, we will see Kris stand up as the actual hero of the prophecy. It's not the soul, it's not us as the players who are actually the hero that is necessary, but I'm hoping that Kris will no longer relinquish their agency to us and will decide that they want to be a hero and they want to be there for their friends in order to make sure that this prophecy does not happen in which they all die. And so I really look forward to the day that I will no longer be able to control Kris. Also, if anybody's interested, I could definitely talk about how the fandom is in opposition to the central themes of the game. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.